We begin in Europe, where authorities are struggling to control surging prices of food and fuel. Natural gas flows from the region's main supplier, Russia, have been all but cut off. That's driven prices of the fossil fuel up to 10 times higher. That's having a knock-on effect on prices of just about everything else. Food prices in the Eurozone jumped by 10.6% in August, partly reflecting higher input costs related to energy trade disruptions. The European Central Bank has raised its inflation outlook for this year from 6.8% to 8.1%. In a bid to rein in inflation, the ECB has hiked its benchmark interest rate by a record 75 basis points to 1.25%. But ECB President Christine Lagarde says there's not much else she can do to resolve Europe's energy crisis.
I cannot reduce the price of energy. I cannot convince the big player of this world to reduce gas prices. I cannot reform the electricity market. And I'm very pleased to see that the Commission, the European Commission, is considering steps to that effect, because monetary policy is not going to reduce the price of energy.
The European Commission says one way they can reduce energy costs is by capping the price that EU member countries can pay for Russian natural gas.
We will propose a price cap on Russian gas. Of course, the objective is here very clear. We all know that our sanctions are deeply grinding into the Russian economy with a heavy negative impact. But Putin is partially buffering through fossil fuel revenues. So here the objective is we must cut Russia's revenues.
Now, the price caps under discussion are part of a broader plan to rein in runaway energy prices. Brussels wants to limit domestic energy prices to $200 per megawatt hours. To achieve this goal, it wants member states to cut electricity consumption by at least 5% during peak hours. Prices charged by domestic nuclear power plants and renewable energy providers will be capped. And income taxes will be hiked significantly for oil, gas and coal power producers that have amassed windfall profits. Well, let's get more on this now with Julien Mathionnet, who joins us from Ravel in France. He's an economist at Energy Intelligence. Good to have you back with us, Julien. Can I start with the European Commission's plan to effectively control the price of a Russian gas that it buys? Now, Moscow has threatened to cut off all supplies if it goes ahead with it. Should Brussels be pushing this?
A very good afternoon to you, Oscar. Yeah, the gas cap proposal has garnered a lot of media attention, but it seems at this point the least likely option. More EU members seems to be against it than in favor of it. And right now, Russia still accounts for about 10% of EU gas supplies to the EU. But truly, gas is still important for countries with no access to alternative like liquefied natural gas. Now, if you don't have access to LNG, then you need LNG, and capping the price of LNG is also a problem, because the price of something is where marginal cost meets marginal supply. And if you artificially depress the price of gas compared to, say, Asia or any other regions by putting a cap on it, then supply will literally run away from you. So that's the danger, I think, here.
That was one of the more controversial parts of a more broader plan. She's also proposing to mandate the amount of power that EU member countries can use during peak hours. What do you make of that proposal?
I think, to me, energy savings is the right way of doing it. I think it's we need to emphasize that, because this is the number and should be the number one priorities of the European Commission. Factories in Sweden, for example, they've already started to shift to night production, to avoid the wild intraday volatility swings in electricity prices. And we already see plenty of examples of substitution possibilities in the heavy industry in Germany. We've heard solution from the chemical industries. We've heard pledges from big car manufacturers from reducing costs by 20% if they pool their resources. We've seen example in the glass manufacturing industry. So it's possible, and that should be the absolute priority for the Commission at this point, I guess.
The European Commission also wants European oil and gas companies who have profited massively from recent surging oil and gas prices to make what Ursula von der Leyen has called a solidarity contribution so that EU member states can help its citizens cushion the blow from rising energy bills. What do you make of that? It's effectively taxing the windfall profits of these energy companies.
Yes, absolutely. It's windfall tax is sort of part of the old arsenal of welfare states. It seems like a simple solution: subsidies, taxing. The problem with that is a profit tax is based on the tax code, so it's based on the balance sheet, the profit and losses of companies, and it's a bit difficult to apply that at this point with so much price volatility. It seems very complicated to implement. The basis for that seems a bit at best murky. I think there are better solutions. Like we've heard of a potential revenue cap for the lowest cost power generators. We've heard of about other initiatives, but seems a bit easier to implement and less complicated than the windfall tax. Although I have to say, the windfall tax looks like one of the most likely options at this point.
Okay, and this is all in the context, of course, of record inflation. The latest figures for the Eurozone show that rising prices have hit 9.1%. A lot of that has to do with the soaring energy prices. How much longer will this persist, do you think?
I think it's going to last for like potentially several years, maybe a decade. As we've learned lately, writing premature obituaries for oil and gas does not make them disappear. The situation today is the joint result of years of bad policy and a madman in Moscow. The world has underinvested in fossil fuel energy, in mining, and we don't have at this point enough green energy or clean energy to fuel, the recovery and the global economy. So we still need more fossil fuel. Even Elon Musk, which is like an advocate of new energy, is saying it himself. Without oil and gas, civilization will crumble. It's typical Elon-esque kind of sentencing. But it emphasized the point: what we still need this energy, and the policy mistakes we've made in the last 10 years will probably prevent us from getting greener as fast as we would like.
Okay, looks like the climate crisis will be taking a back seat. Julien Martinet, really appreciate your analysis as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar.